Once only on command. And what we do, if you order the biggest bottle that we have, it's a little secret, but all we do is we just open lots of small bottles and pull the champagne inside, because the biggest bottle weighs 10 kilos empty and 25 kilos with champagne, and it's just too heavy to work with. So all we do is we just pour champagne inside. We lose a little bit of pressure, but it doesn't do anything to the quality of our champagne, and that's the only way to produce such a big bottle. So let me tell you something about the elaboration of champagne. It all starts with the harvest, which is in September, and it lasts about 2 to 3 weeks. And Taittinger employs 800 workers to do the picking of the grapes. The picking of the grapes has to be done by hand. Any machinery is forbidden in the Champagne region. So we do the picking of the grapes by hand and then press the grapes in the vineyards, and we separate them by variety. We only have 3 varieties in the Champagne. That is Chardonnay, Pinot Noir and Pinot Meunier. These are the only 3 grape varieties that are allowed to use in the Champagne region. So you press them in the vineyards, still separated by variety, and take the juice over to Justice, the main cellar. And that's where we want the first out of 2 fermentations to start. So we have all the juice separated by variety in big stainless steel tanks. And the first fermentation starts. That means the naturally contained sugar of the grapes turns into alcohol and carbon dioxide. But we leave the tanks open so that the carbon dioxide can escape, and all that remains is a still, dry, clear wine. No champagne yet, just still wine. Then we close the tanks and leave them there all winter long. And at the end of February, beginning of March, Mr. Taittinger and 2 enologists come, and they start doing the blending. The blending is one of the most important steps, because we try to maintain the same taste of champagne each year. So if you buy a bottle of Taittinger champagne, it should taste exactly the same like the bottle you bought 10 years ago or the bottle that you will buy in 10 years. Because our identity is our champagne, and we have to maintain the same taste each year. That's why we do the blending. And after the blending is done, we want the second fermentation to start. So we fill the bottles and we add natural yeast and sugar to the bottle and then close it with a metal cap. That's what you can see right here. It's no cork yet. It's a metal cap. Then we take all our bottles in the cellars and lay them this horizontally way like this, and the second fermentation starts. That means the added yeast turns the added sugar again into alcohol and carbon dioxide. But this time the bottles are closed, so the carbon dioxide cannot escape. And that's what we call the birth of champagne, because now we have bubbles inside the bottle. It lasts about 2 months, and after 2 months the yeast dies, and we have a pressure of 6 bars in 1 bottle, which is quite a lot. And then we leave the bottles like this, because the longer champagne stays on the yeast, the better it gets. So for our non-vintage champagne, we would leave the bottles like this 3 to 4 years. For our vintage champagne, it's 5 to 6 years, and for the Comte de Champagne, the best we have, it's 8 to 10 years. Very, very long. But then champagne would be ready to drink. It is champagne, but we still have the sedimentation of all the dead yeast inside each bottle, and we don't want to drink that. So what we do is what you can see over here. So imagine this bottle has aged for 10 years in our cellars, and all the sediments are here, collected at the bottom of the bottle, and we don't want to drink it. So what we do is we have these riddling racks, and we put all our bottles in there after the aging process. And we have 3 riddlers who would come here twice a week for 3 months, and they turn the bottles a quarter to the right and an eighth to the left. And because of this certain riddling movement, all the sedimentation can move to the neck of the bottle, and that's where we want to have it. 1 riddler can turn up to 40,000 bottles a day, so it's very, very much. They're very muscular and very quick. But now, after 3 months, all the sediments have moved to the neck of the bottle. And then we take all our bottles upstairs to our disgorgement workshop. And what we do is we put the neck of the bottle into a cooling solution, about -25 degrees. And what happens for 10 minutes. And what happens is the neck of the bottle freezes and an ice cube forms around all the sedimentation. And because we still have a pressure of 6 bars in each bottle, we can open the metal cap, and the pressure makes the ice cube with all the sedimentation pop out. And as we turn the bottle like this, all that remains is a clear champagne without any yeast, any sedimentation left. but we lose a little bit of champagne. It's about 2 centiliters and 1 bar of pressure. And to compensate this, we add our liqueur de dosage, and that decides how sweet the champagne will be at the end. It can either be brut, sec, or demi-sec. For our brut champagne, we add 9 grams of liquid sugar per liter. For sec, it's 17 grams of liquid sugar, and for demi-sec, it's 35 grams of liquid sugar. So it can be quite sweet if you like that. But then we have a full bottle of champagne again with the sweetness that we want to have. Then we cork the bottles, bring them to Justice where they clean them and label them. Then it's ready to be sold and to be put on your tables. Do you have any questions about the elaboration of champagne? I know it's a lot of information at one time, but it's quite interesting to get the idea of how much work there is in one bottle of champagne.
When you say you add sugar both times, it's just like cane sugar.
It's cane sugar, yeah.
Okay.
But we just add it for the second fermentation. The natural contained sugar of the grapes is for the first fermentation. There's sugar already of the grapes. No more questions. We're all professionals on the elaboration of champagne now. That's awesome.
So how long does it take for, say, your cheapest bottle of champagne to get from fermentation
it's
to the
3 years of aging, 3 months on the riddling racks, about half a year in the cellars. Say it's 4 years, 4 to 5 years for one bottle of champagne.
So do you, when you put the date on the bottle, is that the date it's...
That is the vintage year.
Okay.
But you will only find the date, like 2010, on the vintage champagnes. And all the other champagnes with no date, it's a blend of different years. Because we try to maintain the same taste, we have to have different years. Because one year the acidity was very high, the next year acidity was very low. So we have to mix them both up to get the level that we want. And that is why there's no date on a champagne bottle, a regular champagne bottle, but because it's a blend of different years. And only the vintage year has to be exceptional, so we can have the taste that we want. Then it says the 2005 or 2010 on the bottle. So that is a vintage year then.
And how long do you let it sit like this?
For non-vintage, 3 to 4 years. Vintage, 5 to 6. And Comte de Champagne, 8 to 10 years. So it depends on the kind of champagne that we have. But the longer it stays in the yeast, the better it gets. So we try to have it long in the yeast.
And then is on the vintage, that year, is that the year that it was blended?
The year that the harvest was.
Oh, the actual harvest, okay.
Yes.
And there are special use that you do when you take out the yeast, so with the yeast that you take out, you throw it out, or you reuse for something?
No. The yeast dies, so the yeast is dead and doesn't do anything. It doesn't turn the sugar again into alcohol.
So you throw it
But you can, the yeast, you can make schnapps out of it. So the spirit producers buy the yeast and you can have schnapps out of it.
Okay.
So what percentage of years roughly are vintage years?
Oh, that's hard to say. We were lucky in 2003, 4, and 2005. It was vintage each year, but then the next one was about 2010. So we never know when the next one will be, and it's just
weather
hard to
dependent.
tell. It depends on the weather. This year won't be a vintage year. It rained too much, so we can't say it's vintage.
So they like dry feet.
Yes, yeah, very much. But it depends on the house. When we say it's a vintage year, Böfkliko can say no, it's not a vintage year. It depends on the taste of the house and what kind of quality they want to have. Okay, so now let's continue this way.